evening, viewers. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Tax Matters. Tonight on Tax Matters, we are going to have an exciting time. I am Olumuyiwa Matuluko. Tonight on Tax Matters, we conclude our serialization of taxes approved for collection by the different tiers of government. Tonight we conclude by listing out the taxes collectible by the federal government of Nigeria. Our guest of the week segment on Tax Matters tonight, we have a personality that you could easily describe as Mr. Tax. He is so versatile on tax matters that we could not restrict him to any particular issue. You are going to have an exciting time listening to Mr. Tax. Wait for it. Our quiz of the week continues to generate interest. One particular viewer sent in his answer at 2:30 a.m. on Monday morning. That's via email.
Only two things are certain in life: death and taxes.
Taxation is based on confidence.
What strategy can we adopt to make tax administration more people-friendly so that they...
Watch out for Tax Matters on NTA2 Channel 5 every Sunday at 10 p.m. It's informative, it's educative, it's entertaining. For sponsorship and advert bookings, contact Tax Matters, 30 McNeil Road, Saboyaba, telephone 01-868-585, email taxmatterscom@yahoo.com, or the marketing manager, NTA2 Channel 5, Ahmadu Bello Way, Victoria Island, Lagos.
Tonight, we list out the taxes approved for collection by the federal government of Nigeria. 1. Companies income tax. 2. Withholding tax on companies, residents of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and non-resident individuals. 3. Petroleum profits tax. 4. Value added tax, VAT. 5. Education tax. 6. Capital gains tax on residents of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, bodies corporate, and non-resident individuals. 7. Stamp duties on bodies corporate and residents of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. 8. Personal income tax in respect of A. Members of the Armed Forces of the Federation. B. Members of the Nigeria Police Force. C. Residents of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And D. Staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and non-resident individuals. That concludes our public enlightenment series on taxes approved for collection by the three tiers of government under Decree 21 of 1998. Viewers, you are welcome to our Guest of the Week segment. Tonight we have a very important personality in the studio. Chief David Olorunleke started as Commissioner for Revenue in Kwara State, where he served from 1971 to 1976. He became Permanent Secretary between 1976. He served as Permanent Secretary between 1976 and 1978. He served in the Ministries of Finance, Agriculture, and the Military Governor's Office. Thereafter, he moved over to the federal level as Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, where he was for 14 years, from 1978 to 1992. He then became Director General, which was the designation of permanent secretaries at that time. He was General in the Federal Ministry of Finance between September 1992 and February 1994. He has now retired into private practice. He is Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Happytax, a firm of tax and business consultants. Chief Olorunleke, you are welcome to Tax Matters.
Thank you very much.
Now, you were the helm of affairs at the Federal Inland Revenue Service for 14 good years. And that gives us the satisfaction that we are talking to somebody who knows his onions as far as tax administration is concerned. Now, what are the ways in which we can modernize tax administration in Nigeria?
Thank you very much for bringing me to the studio. And I would like to tackle this first question by looking at it from four main angles. The first is to get a good tax administration. You need a good machinery in place for the gathering of information to ensure that those who are expected to pay tax are brought into the tax net. Secondly, you need a gathering of information machinery that will ensure the sources of income of those you have brought into the tax net. That these income sources are known and are regularly made available to the tax office. The third is you need a very well-trained and well-equipped staff to implement the laws for the imposition and the collection procedures of the tax you are collecting. And then, fourthly, I think you need a very good law to back it up, because whatever you do in taxation, you have to back it up with law. And this law must be adequate, must be properly in place, and the provisions must be very, very clear. Now, how do we modernize these four things? Starting from the law, for example, you need a constant review of the tax laws from time to time to make sure that the tax laws are in line with the trend of the economy of the society. That is, whatever you are doing, your reference point must be what form of economy are we running? What are the main trades of taxpayers? And what are the transactions that normally go on between A or B, one company or the other, and one person or the other? Now, you have to keep on revising these tax laws to make sure that you catch these businesses, you catch these transactions. That's number one. Number two, how do we modernize the staff? The staff needs to be well trained from time to time. They need to be well motivated, well paid, and they need to be well equipped, because these are the tools that we need to use to implement these tax laws. If the staff are not trained, then you don't have sufficient hands to do exactly what you are supposed to do under the law. Now, in the question of how do we gather information, how do we modernize the gathering of information, the problem we have is that there are so many primitive ways of collecting revenue in this country for now. But in modernization, we are going now into computer age. So there is a lot of data information in various places, in the Corporate Affairs Commission, where you can get the list of companies being registered from time to time and their returns from year to year. You can also go into the banks to get whatever interests are being paid to corporate bodies or taxpayers as individuals. You can also go into companies that have data in respect of dividends paid from time to time. And a gamut of all kinds of data stored in various places between the private sector, government agencies, and so on. And the tax authorities will now have to have gadgets that can access this information so that they are up to date in their information. Because information is key in very good assessment. If you don't have sufficient information about the taxpayer, about its sources of income, you are not ready for a good assessment. The time for best of judgment assessment should now continue to give way to a real mechanical scientific way of assessment. This is the way I think we can modernize our tax administration.
Thank you, sir. Some tax professionals have called for autonomy for the revenue agencies, Federal Revenue Service, and the various state revenue boards. I don't know if you share their opinion. If you do, we want to know how practicable this is, because we feel that it may amount to asking government to close shop.
Yes, I think autonomy is imperative in tax administration. If you want the tax authorities to perform, you have to give them the power and the autonomy. already, as the law exists, either at the state level or at the federal level, the law assumes some kind of autonomy for the tax authority. You are given powers to call for information, you are given powers to assess, you are given powers to collect. So there is nothing which says that somebody else will have to do this for you, or somebody will have to monitor you in the process of doing all these things. So there is guaranteed autonomy inside the law. But what I think happens in the state level, at the state level in particular, is the fact that you give the tax authority the autonomy, but you don't fund them properly. You don't give them the funds to be able to perform these functions. Now, most of the state tax authorities are tied to the Ministry of Finance, and even if they have to post letters, whatever they have to do by way of expenditure, they have to take permission from somebody within the ministry. This is where the autonomy is reduced to no autonomy at all, because if I have to assess somebody and I need to go and bring that taxpayer to my I should be able to get hold of a car and go and give and take the fellow. But if I have to wait for one officer in the Ministry of Finance to approve a vehicle for me to go and take the taxpayer, by the time he approves, perhaps the time I have given to the taxpayer is gone. So this is where the autonomy is lacking. The autonomy without sufficient funding is no autonomy at all. At the federal level, we seem to have got over that. And I think so far so good. I think there is sufficient funding because there's a separate budget for the Federal Inland Revenue Service. And I will urge the states also to have not only a separate budget, but adequate budget for their tax authority. So I am in favor of full autonomy with full backing, with full funding, and with full support by the government, either the state or the federal.
Some giving the of Ghana,
Yes.
where the issue of seems to have gone full, in the sense that the whole system of revenue, of assessment, has been contracted out to everybody. Is that Nigeria? Is it necessary?
It is not necessary. In fact, we had here in years ago, and I think it was not welcome to the business community generally, because contractors were doing things which were outside. Many people did not like the way they were acting, precisely in the area of election, where to now face taxpayers with military officers and harass them, lock them out in their offices until they gave a check for the payment of tax which was supposed to be outstanding. No sufficient room was given for objections and the settlement of appeals and so on. All those things were hastened through the courts, and they made taxpayers pay what they were not supposed to pay, either by force or through the courts. But these things are not like that in the tax law. The tax laws lays down a very good form of procedure whereby those who are aggrieved by assessment have room to appeal, room to object. Your objections is heard and resolved. Your appeals are heard and resolved. And if after that you still have something legal which you are objecting about, you still can go to the court. These things are cut short under that type of system. And I believe that the tax authorities are capable enough, because the laws are in their hands. They are capable of using the law to effect whatever type of procedure or imposition or collection which they need to do under the tax laws. We don't need people from outside. And even if you have to hire people from outside, you need to coordinate their functions with the legitimate authority In other words, those consultants must work in unity with the tax authorities themselves. And they must not only work in unity, they must work under the supervision of tax authorities, because as far as the law is concerned, the only recognized authority is the tax authority. Consultants are really can be very helpful, because before you become a consultant, you are supposed to be well knowledgeable about what you are consulting about. And therefore, the tax authorities can make use of tax consultants in a way by tapping their experience. But that is not to say they should take over the responsibilities of what the tax authorities are supposed to do under the law. They can advise, they can write in their comments, they can even do all sorts of things for you, but they must relate to the tax authority, and they must be under the control of the tax authority.
Now, sir, local governments are notorious, in a sense, in the way and manner they collect taxes, especially in the urban areas. Is there no way that we can tame the local governments, make them to be more civil in the way they collect taxes from people?
Yes, I think I agree with you that they are very crude in the way they collect their revenue at the moment. And I think this is because all the tax laws that we have, none of them actually refers to the local government. So whatever is collectible by the local government, I think the various houses of assembly at the state level should now sit down and put these things into law. The process of imposition, the process of collections, the process of appeals, just like we have it in the income tax. So if you are going to rely on levies and all other revenue sources that are applicable to the local government, there must be laws, sufficient laws to guide the collection of these levies. And until we have that, we are going to continue to have all these jungle laws which are being practiced by the various local governments at the moment. For example, you park your car in a place and somebody comes to lock the wheels and says you have to pay 2,500 without any room for appeal. Whether you are parked or you are not parked, nobody is there to witness against you or for you. And therefore, these things must have some basis in the law. And if there is no law, then there is bound to be chaos. And I think this is what we are having.
Sir, what are the implications for the productive sector of this regime of multiple levies and taxes in the different tiers of government?
Well, first of all, it adds to the cost of doing business, which I think corporate bodies, manufacturing companies don't want. I mean, they are all out to make profit, and of course, these expenses, when they become too much, they add up to cost, and this tends to reduce the profits of the company. Apart from the nuisance value that you are called upon from time to time, whereas corporate bodies, you want to pay their tax at the end of the year, once a year. So it is more or less a nuisance value. Now, the other aspect of it is that these costs are taken off from the profits of the company, and so they reduce the profit for tax purposes at the federal level. And therefore, the Federal Inland Revenue Services now will get less tax from these companies because of the additional expenses due to these levies. And of course, if that revenue is depleted, the federation account is also depleted, and this also affects the states generally. So it has this adverse effect on the federation account. It is illegal because there is a decree now which says that these are the various levies that can be collected by states and local governments. So any country, or any state or local government that goes out of these lists in the decree is doing something illegal. And I believe that, like I said earlier on, if there is a law which specifies what each local government or each state is supposed to collect, backed with a sufficient law, nobody should be able to get out of that bracket of the law and go and collect levies that are not supposed to be collected. And I think by the time we have a law, the corporate bodies themselves will stand up to reject whatever levies that are brought to them by local government. I think this is the way we can stamp out these obnoxious levies.
Thank you, sir.
Society of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and Professional present our 3-day workshop on company income taxation at the Lagos Airport Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos, from the 15th to 17th of August, year 2000. Papers will be presented by J.F.S. Jegede, G.S. Nnadi, S.A. Rabiu, G.A. Falayola, S.D. Medesu, and P.S. Layade. Fees, 26,500 per participant. For more information, contact the General Secretary, Lagos District Society of ICANN, on Norfolk House, 200 Igboshiri Street, Lagos, or Professional Edge, Holy Trinity Hospital Estate, 110 Biawolowo Way, Ikeja.
You are still on to tax matters. Our quiz of the week continues to generate interest. This week, we received a total of 42 letters and emails. One particular email arrived at 2:30 a.m. on Monday morning. The list of winners is on your screen. Here is calling on the winners to come to our office to collect their prizes. And now to our quiz of this week. Take a pen and paper. What is tax avoidance? I repeat, what is tax avoidance? The first 5 correct answers to arrive in our office, either by email or by post, will attract a prize of 200 naira each. I want to use this medium to congratulate Dr. Oladeyinde Shoga on his installation as the 17th president of the Rotary Club of Bagada, District 9110. That's my club. We on Tax Matters wish Dr. Dede a successful tenure. Those of us who were in Abuja for the 2nd annual tax conference in May, I've always told those who were not able to make it out there that they missed quite a lot. It was a professionally rewarding experience, what with the well-researched papers presented by Mr. Emmanuel Ijewere and Mr. Nwabueze Oji of the People's Bank of Nigeria. But it was not an entirely bouquet affair. We toured the beautiful city of Abuja, we played games, and we danced. Well, viewers, that is all we can take on this episode of Tax Matters. We hope you had an exciting time. We assure you that next week on this same station at this same time, we'll be back with another exciting package for you on Tax Matters. Until then, keep paying your taxes and stay blessed. Quiz of the week continues to generate interest. This week, we received a total of 42 letters and emails. One particular email arrived at 2:30 a.m. on Monday morning. The list of winners is on your screen. Here's calling on the winners to come to our office to collect their prizes. And now to our quiz of this week. Take your pen and paper. What is tax avoidance? I repeat, what is tax avoidance? The first 5 correct answers to arrive in our office, either by email or by post, will attract a prize of 200 naira each. I want to use this medium to congratulate Dr. Oladeyinde Shoga on his installation as the 17th president of the Rotary Club of Bagada, District 9110. That's my club. We on Tax Matters wish Dr. Dede a successful tenure. Those of us who were in Abuja for the 2nd annual tax conference in May, I've always told those who were not able to make it out there that they missed quite a lot. It was a professionally rewarding experience, what with the well-researched papers presented by Mr. Emmanuel Ijewere and Mr. Nwabueze Oji of the People's Bank of Nigeria. But it was not an entirely bouquet affair. We toured the beautiful city of Abuja, we played games, and we danced. Well, viewers, that's all we can take on this episode of Tax Matters. We hope you had an exciting time. We assure you that next week on this same station at this same time, we'll be back with another exciting package for you on Tax Matters. Until then, keep paying your taxes and stay blessed.